Welcome back, Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Lombardi, Mosier, Kane. Kane's out. Katy Wingy replacing Kaner today, and we are proud and happy. Thank you, Katy, for reaching out to our next guest who, listen, I did a story on him. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Katy. I did a story way back, like 25 years ago, when he played his high school basketball on the west side of Phoenix, Moon Valley, I believe, Moon Valley High School. And back then, I knew this kid was going to be a star. He went on to become a star at the University of Arizona, then the NBA, and we all knew working with him as a Nugget, he would be a star in television, and here he is, Richard Jefferson. Welcome, Rich.
I just want to say you're going to have to do my intro everywhere I go. Like that's.
Well, it was written for me. I just read it. It was just Katy wrote that.
Well, Katy, and I'm just going to ask you guys before we're done, if you can just kind of send me that audio intro so I can make that anytime anyone calls me. That will be my voicemail right there.
Now, Richard,
that's my voicemail.
We're going to find somebody who actually did a story on you in middle school, and we're going to drunk Vic. And
dude, the guy jumped over me.
It'll be even better.
Richard, you jumped over me.
Hey, look, when I was young, I was springy. I was springy, and I had to do what I do. If you guys were to do a middle school thing, that would probably look closer to a police report than it would an actual middle school was. A little shaky for me. Definitely high school. I chose the right fork in the road, but middle school and younger, not so much.
So good. Richard, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you, as always. That's the least I can do is get you that audio, so you can just transfer that over right to your voicemail. You were calling the game for the Nuggets on ESPN. I hate to change the tone of this conversation already, but watching Jamal go down, just take me through what that was like from your perspective.
Well, it's always tough because, we've all avid sports fans and people that do this for a living. It's like your eye goes to certain things, and when it first happened and he's grabbing his knee, you're just immediately like, oh wait, and so then you wait for the replay to see maybe it hyperextended, maybe something, and you never want to assume the worst. Like Joel Embiid's knee probably looked worse if you go back and watch the video the way he landed versus Jamal's, and Joel Embiid only had to miss a month. So, even as broadcasters, you don't want to put that energy out there and just say, oh, that looks like a torn ACL. But ultimately, it puts you in a spot where you're like, yeah, and Jamal is one of the toughest players that, I've been around, and I know he's young, but the way he approaches games and how much he wants to play, even when he's at 70, 80%, he's tough. So if he's rolling around on the ground, you definitely fear for the worst.
When we all saw it, Richard, you've been around the game long enough, it's the first thing that comes to mind. You never want to say it and never, ever want to utter the words, but it's the first thing that comes to mind. What do you think how do his teammates react now? Because you've been in locker rooms. I think Kenyon Martin hurt his knee when you played with Kenyon in Jersey. So what did you guys do when you lost him?
It's tough. And, what I think we all understand is, Jokic is having an MVP season. Michael Porter Jr. has elevated his game to, a very high level for a player of his time. And, the additions of Aaron Gordon, I know we're talking about Denver Nuggets basketball here, but, ultimately, Jamal Murray is a big, big part of that. And, health is going to be key for every team. Obviously, we can see these shuffles in the lineup, and Jokic is probably the favorite for MVP because of his health. But it's going to be very, very difficult for the Nuggets to really maximize what their goals were leading into the season and leading into the postseason without Jamal Murray.
Yeah, and Richard, I guess that's the thing too, is that we get down here. Denver's not the biggest market in the world. The Nuggets have done it the right way. They've drafted, they've developed, and they do an Aaron Gordon deal, which is fantastic. And then, as a Nuggets fan, you can imagine you feel like you're just getting screwed. You know what I mean? You just feel like it's nobody's fault. It's a knee that gave out. I mean, you can't help that. But you feel like, doggone it, what do we got to do here to try and be a factor? And this is just one more kick in the gut that the Nuggets seem to get, every decade or so.
Yeah, and it's every decade or so. Look, you guys have had one of the greatest stretches. You guys took a risk and got Michael Porter Jr. and Bol, and those guys panned out for you. And Jamal Murray and Jokic was a second-round pick that turned into an MVP. So people aren't really feeling that bad for you outside of, your own community. But, ultimately you just got to stick with it. Like the blessing in, I won't say blessing, there's no blessing in this, but understanding that your core unit is still very, very young and still has a ton of room for growth. And that's including Jamal. That's including Jokic. That's including Michael Porter Jr. So, the goal is really to have them be, contenders and perennial playoff performers for the next decade. So this is a bump in the road. But ultimately, I think he's going to come back just fine. We all know about Jamal's kind of mental focus and how he approaches things.
RJ grounding us and giving us the perspective that we need here. Nobody outside of Denver's feeling sorry for us. You're right. I mean, Nikola Jokic is an MVP candidate, if not the MVP right now, and we drafted him during a Taco Bell commercial. So
no, they chose to go to a Taco Bell commercial when Jokic was getting drafted.
Yeah, and I think and even the Denver Nuggets didn't know. Like, no one knew, right? No one knew what they were getting in him, and no one, even when he burst on the scene, they thought he would be really good, and they were like, wow, we don't even know what this is. But then the next thing you know, this guy just gets better every single year and just adds new levels to his game. And so, it's tough. I think Jamal will be back. I think he'll be back. He'll do all the things, and you got a great medical staff there in Denver, and he's a worker. This is one thing that when you're looking at rehabs and when you're looking at players trying to come back from things, it's like, what is their reputation? And Jamal is a person that has a reputation for being tough and working hard. And an ACL surgery 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago could have been like career altering. This is like, hey, we'll see you in 9-10 months.
Okay, so where do the Nuggets go from here? Like, if you're in the locker room and you've been in these types of locker rooms, like, what is the mentality of this team? And we know this, RJ. They, love being underdogs. They love being counted out. So what are they thinking right now?
Okay, because I love you guys. Because I love
be
you
real.
guys.
Be real.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
Don't
real.
lie to
Give it
us.
Straight.
No. I'm gonna be real. They understand that the chances of them winning a championship went from probably 10%, and I still put like the Lakers at 20. The Nets at 22%, and I think the Denver Nuggets had probably a 15% chance, which means that they were one of the top 7 teams that could win a championship this year. I think really without Jamal Murray, that percentage drops to 5%, and I'm being very, very generous because go back and look at the Golden State Warriors when they lost Kevin Durant and when they lost and injuries dictate. If this would have happened in the Western Conference Finals, it would have been tough for them to go and make it to the NBA Finals, right, and to win a championship. So the fact that this is happening at this point in time means that, you get Jamal Murray for none of this stretch, right?
Yeah.
He's not going to be able to help for any of your postseason. And even though you guys are talented, you got to look at the opponent. But that doesn't mean that there aren't things to still be had. Joker can win an MVP. Michael Porter Jr. has a chance to elevate his game. You're going to be able to get some of these young players some more opportunities, and hopefully that opportunity can help you in the years to come.
RJ, you said it best there. Listen, the one thing you cannot replicate with the loss of Jamal Murray is that late game assassin. Your team's down. You need a bucket.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, they got shooters. They got guys who will shoot, but no one's proven it at the highest level. What Jamal did in the bubble, bro, you can't. I mean, come on, man. How do you expect somebody else to show up and do that? They got nobody else who can do that right now. Proven.
Yeah, but you're not trying to replace any player. You look at what's happening with the Lakers without these guys. You look at what's happening with the Nets when they're having guys in and out of the lineup. So, you understand that injuries are a part of it. The hope is that these aren't, long injuries. Look at the Golden State Warriors. They're in the 10th spot. And if they had Klay Thompson, who had a torn ACL and a torn Achilles, if they would have had Klay Thompson, they would probably be battling for home court advantage. That's the difference between losing a player. And I would say Klay Thompson is the Jamal Murray is the Klay Thompson for the Denver Nuggets. Yes, Jokic is the best player. Yes, Steph is the best player. But having Klay Thompson makes the Warriors contenders. Having Jamal Murray and Jokic makes them contenders. Without them, they're a very good playoff team. And that's not to be disrespectful. That's actually paying respect to the value of Jamal Murray.
Richard, before I let you go, I got to ask you this question. How in the hell did your podcast – you've blown up.
Shout
We
out
carry
road
it.
tripping, baby.
We carry it, right, on Altitude TV?
Yeah, we do.
don't
Yeah,
we?
yes, we do. You just exploded, man. We knew you were a great dude. You're engaging in all this, but handsome, man. How the hell? It's like you're the most popular dude in America.
No, I wouldn't go that far. Honestly, there is no road tripping without Channing Frye. There's no road tripping without Allie. There's no road tripping without all of the teammates that I had, Jamal Murray and all of these guys that I built relationships with over my time that came onto the podcast and would sit and talk and drink wine. But look, even for road tripping, we view ourselves as a player development, right? Like we spotted the talent in Katy Wingy way before you guys did.
I appreciate you, friend.
I don't realize, I hope you guys know this, but me and Katy had a couple of conversations that I was like, hey, do you want to come be the guest host for the podcast? And then next thing you know, and it was like, yo, she is so amazing. She is so talented. And then all of a sudden, like Katy's all over Altitude. And like, look, we had nothing to do with it. But at the end of the day, it's like I'm not surprised at the success that she's had, and I'm so glad that you guys are recognizing it because she was being shortchanged just doing quizzes on the Jumbotron.
Well, she did a quiz today. She was great.
Yeah, she did a quiz. She's okay.
Yeah.
She's
on
all right.
the Jumbotron, she wasn't being utilized enough, and so. Part of our success with road tripping, again, is right next to you guys. Katy Wingy, she helped keep it alive when I left Cleveland, and now we're in a spot where, we get good attention. But we just love telling stories very similar to you guys, and we want to do it in a fun way, and we don't want any drama. We don't want any controversy. It's just good, fun content, and that's kind of always been our thing.
And wine drinking.
RJ, you're the best.
Lots of drinking,
Yes, you're drunk
Really
half the
quick,
time.
I have one more before we let him go. Because you just brought up your time in Denver, and RJ, you're my guy. I appreciate you so much and all the time that you always give us. But what's your favorite part about Denver? Is Denver a slept-on city? Like, I've never gotten to ask you this question about your time in Colorado. I know you wanted to ski, but you couldn't because you were still playing.
Well, I took up a lot of skiing. I've been to Vail multiple times. I love skiing. It is one of my favorite now that I am retired pastimes because I make my kids go in the ski school. But I think the community is one of the awesome things about Denver. So many people, I live in Los Angeles now. You just hear so many people from Los Angeles moving to Colorado because of the community and how energetic and outgoing it is. And I'm so glad that the Denver Nuggets are getting the recognition that they should. Because they really have. Like, you think about Carmelo Anthony, you think about some of these teams that have gone through there over the past, 25 years, and they've always had a very consistent program. And I'm just, I think that the Denver community is starting to see, again, that same type of buzz where you got, I'm just bummed out that the fans can't be in the arena for, what, I believe could be a Jokic MVP season, so. No, I think your ability to get free agents is going to increase. Now, obviously, your cap space is very, very limited, but I think a lot of people look at Denver as a place that, like, hey, I can raise my family there. I can have, a lot of fun and do, all the things that I need to do professionally.
The talented Richard Jefferson. Bud, thanks for a few minutes today. Look forward to seeing you on the next ESPN broadcast.
Appreciate you, RJ.
Right. Thank you, guys, man. Whenever you guys need me, I'm always
Good
here.
luck with Arizona's situation, too. Are you going to coach?
Yeah, he don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
The sweaty coach got fired.
That's a whole nother show. Nother show.
Take care, brother.
Bye.
See ya.
All right, that was fun, man. Good. He's always got some good intel, doesn't he? And
He's so
great
smart.
Perspective.
He is so smart. I can't even begin to describe it to you guys. He's so smart about life. He's so smart about basketball.
And we didn't ask him about. I'm talking to you, young man. Don't you call me sir.
Oh, you're right.
Damn it.
That was
Damn
with
it.
Jamal
Forgot.
Murray.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
Damn
my
it.
God. How stupid are we? I blame Katy. Why did we
Katy,
miss that
what
question?
are you doing?
I got him on the show, you guys. You
Damn
can't
it.
blame me for that.
It's Mose Lombardi and Kane Wingy is in Altitude 92.5.